Good morning, everyone, and thank you for being with us today. It's a pleasure to have you all back in the room, and really a privilege to have Lubna Olayan join us. It's wonderful to have you here at Gateway Gulf. I look forward to this conversation. I have no notes, and I've kept it so that we can just see where it takes us. But if you'll allow me, Lubna, it's so many things are happening in the world today. The pace of information flowing into policymakers, into business leaders, has multiplied over the last few years. So my first question to you is, when you first wake up in the morning, what is the first thing you check on your phone?
Well, good morning, everyone. And I'm really honored to be here with you today. And I'm really honored that Sheikh Salman and I are having this chat. And I just want to thank the Crown Prince for his invitation. And I understand this is the third Gateway Gulf.
It is.
So a real pleasure to be here. Well, it depends on the day what I check first. If I had something related to family, it would be family first. And then I will see what is happening in the world. If nothing is happening in the family side, I immediately go see given I'm from this region, what's geopolitical news, then economic news, and then I go see what's happening in the company. Now you have to understand my role has changed, that I'm more on the governance level rather than the day-to-day operations. So there is, that's my current life.
Thank you for mentioning governance, Lebanon. And Olayan Group today is one of the leading family conglomerates in the region as a whole. One of the big differentiating factors is over the many decades that Olayan Group has been in existence was the strength of governance within the family group, and the early recognition of your late father that there needs to be a very strong corporate governance and also a strong empowerment of professional management. And that really differentiated Olayan Group, and it was one of its early hallmarks. So next question is, what was the best advice your father ever gave you?
Well, thank you very much. For the audience, in 2027, we will be celebrating our 80th anniversary in the group. So my father was a pioneer, and for those that know the Gulf at that time, the Gulf was in a different place than what it is now. So, my father had given me many advice, but I recall one advice very well, and that is when he had appointed me CEO of OFC. OFC is Olayan Financing Company, and at that time, Olayan had to manage all the industrial investments of the group in Saudi Arabia, as well as the public equity and real estate. So it was only on the industrial side and investment. And he told me, now, listen, Isma'i binti, listen, my daughter, I'm gonna give you an advice. There are two groups of people that you will need, two professionals you will always need in your life: lawyers and accountants. Listen to them very carefully, but don't let them make the decisions for you. So that is an advice. I always tease my husband, who is a lawyer by profession. I always tease him. My father told me I should listen always, but I don't have to make a decision. But all kidding aside, my father was truly a practical man. And he for those who are not familiar, he never he barely finished high school. So he had to be self-taught all the time. He went and learned from the very best. He read unbelievable. He always went to the best advisors, best consultants, advisors, especially on the academic side. When he was in Beirut, he went to American University of Beirut and consulted with professors and everywhere. So I guess that within himself taught him to be an amazing listener, which was also an advice for me. Listen, and listen carefully and learn, and then make your decision. And that is something I also learned from him.
That's wonderful. Thank you very much for that, Lubna. When Olayan Group was set up, and even prior to that, with the work that had been done around the tap line and all of the work that your late father had been involved in, it was a very interesting time of change. As you said, from an education perspective, from a schooling perspective, from even a healthcare perspective, an infrastructure perspective, the region was at a disadvantage to the developed countries of the world. And yet, having seen that opportunity, there were the pioneers that went and built. And as we think of where we are today, do the younger generation have it easier, or is it more difficult for them?
I think every generation has their challenges. In terms of life, the pioneers like my fathers, the founders, had a very tough life. They really did. I mean, it was hard work, hard life, and so they did. Our generation we still had a tough life, but easier than our other founders. I think the younger generation live in the land of plenty and live in the land of social media and age and all of this. And that by itself is difficult. Because making decision, seeing so much around you, and all of that is not easy. So if I am to say that they have it much easier than us, I'll probably be killed by my daughters when I go home. But so I have to say, honestly, that every generation has its own challenges. And you just have to adapt with the change and with it.
Thank you. And as we look forward with so many things, and we've been having discussions here yesterday with many of the panelists and many of the participants around some of the fundamental changes and transformational changes that we are seeing now with artificial intelligence and the developments that we're seeing there, with quantum computing coming online, with a lot of the changing dynamics in global trade. In a world with so many different things and transformational change that we are on the edge of, what concerns you the most about the future?
Look, we come from a region of geographical instability and headaches. And I was telling someone the other day that since I started working in Saudi Arabia, which is in '83 is when I started working, I've seen 7 at least geopolitical conflicts, including wars. So that is in itself, the geopolitical instability is a worry. You spoke about the advances of technology and improvement, AI and all of this. That could be an enabler to facilitate our life if used properly, but it could also be misused. So that's as well as is a balance. The world needs, for me, one of my biggest worry on AI, I will have to say, other than the misuse, is the employment. That is something that I worry about. I remember in the past, when they said AI, we said we will train our people, we will improve our people so they can do a higher job. But we're seeing the reality now that actually in the West, people are go of people. 30,000 people were let go from one company, Amazon, I was reading. And we will see more people let go from as a result of the use of AI. One of the things that really worries me is a stable country needs a large middle class. Middle class is the backbone of any society. So we have to make sure that AI does not cause the middle class to shrink and make the wealthy wealthier and cause the gap. That my mind hasn't really grasped how we're going to use. I think we will be amazing and is if we can use AI to build up the middle class of a society. Then I would say, I think this is the right, we use technology to help strengthen our society.
What's the role of government? When one of the main advantages and one of the strong advantages that we have in this part of the world has been that the speed at which governments can move, the resources that governments are able to deploy in ensuring that we have the right infrastructure, the ability for governments to push forward regulations and legislations that are business friendly, and the ability to focus on upskilling and training of human capital has really given this region a big advantage in its ability to move forward when there is transformational change. How do you view the role of government? We like to say in Bahrain with His Royal Highness the Crown Prince and Prime Minister, really saying we get the government to do what we need to do and then we get out of the way of the private sector and we let private enterprise make its capital allocation decisions, move as fast as it can. How do you view the role of government in capturing opportunity and empowering growth for the private sector?
I totally agree with the vision of the Crown Prince, your Prime Minister. I think it's a great vision. I have to say the governments in the Gulf states, maybe because from where we started and how quickly we need to develop, had to do precisely what you have mentioned. They, they want to fast track the development of the society. So I work with the private sector. I haven't seen more cooperation, private sector and government, more than I've seen, well, I'm the most familiar here. How can we together work to build the economic opportunities in the societies? It's interesting, in the Gulf countries, almost 60 to 65% of total GDP is due to family business. And I found out that almost 70% of people working in the private sector in the Gulf come from family businesses. So it's an interesting, the family businesses, and by the way, for the foreign audience here, family businesses were the people, the old family that started the businesses in the country. So family businesses across the world have been a large employer as well as a contributor to society. I mean, I read the statistics that blew my mind a little bit. India around 78 or 75% of the population, of the working population, are employed by family businesses. And almost 70% of the GDP is due to family business. Mexico, I don't know if this is almost 90% of are the employers of family business. So there is a big role for private companies to play in the society, in employment, and building the resilience, the economic resilience of a company. On the speed, I totally agree. Recently, when the Gulf countries have put visions and put goals and aspirations, the speed in which the governments are working and ministers are working is putting us sometimes private sector to shame. I joke in Saudi Arabia when I talk to some of our ministers, I mean, I thought we used to work very hard, we in the private sector. Now I'm seeing the ministers in all the GCC are working very long hours and hard, and to be honest with you, it shows. The results shows. Look at this conference, look at Saudi Arabia, look at UAE. The economies are thriving because of the hard work of both public sector and private sector.
Thank you for that, because it is important, and one of the things that a lot of our colleagues in government know is that yes, there's a lot of time that gets put in, and it's a huge time commitment, but there's a lot of work, never stops.
Yeah.
And they're having to continue to push, having to continue to really capture this moment. We are in a moment, and that moment is very positive for the region. The macro dynamics, the global dynamics are very positive for this part of the world, and it is important that with the leadership across the region, with the leadership of His Majesty the King here in Bahrain, the vision of His Royal Highness the Crown Prince, to be able to ensure that we are positioning ourselves and the wider region, of course, to really properly capture this moment, to create the right opportunity for the next generation.
Yeah.
And there are many opportunities.
You know, we used to say the business people or executive, we want to have life-work balance. But I think now life-work balance has to apply more to ministers than us in the private sector. I'll stop here.
But it's but really capturing that moment and translating it into opportunities, what is key. And with that, with a couple of minutes left, are you optimistic in general about where we're going, about where the world is going?
I've always been an optimist, and I continue to be optimist. I think we have, but I'm a realist as well. So my worry is the geopolitical issues that the world face. My worry is the egos of some people. Where are they going to take the world to? My worry, as I said, is not keeping an eye. We all want prosperity and we all want to grow, but we should make sure we don't forget people behind, because that is going to be a dangerous to our society. So yes, I have lots of worries, but I am an optimist, and I believe future generation will have learned, and I hope every generation learns from the mistakes of others, and they will correct what we have sort of ignored. So that's why I am more optimistic, because when I speak to the youth, I see they have learned from some of our mistakes, and hopefully they will correct what we have neglected.
Thank you. I always tell my colleagues that whenever I want to get an optimistic view on life, I go and spend some time with our 25-year-old, 22, 30-year-old entrepreneurs in the FinTech Hub and some of the accelerators, and it really refocuses the optimism and how much opportunity we really have going forward, and the duty we have to ensure that we are empowering them and giving them that opportunity. Lubna, I'd really like to thank you for being with us today.
Pleasure.
It's always wonderful to have you in Bahrain. Thank you for joining us in Gateway Gulf, and I hope that we have many other opportunities to see you and to have conversations with you. As always, thank you.
Bahrain is a second home, and thank you very much for having me.
Thank you, Lubna.
Thank you.